Hey everyone, Blade here, and welcome to my turbo build guide, where I'll go over her dupes, skill priorities, best weapons, gear sets, team comps, and more to help you utilize her abilities if you decide to pull for her. So let's go ahead and get started. Turbo, being the speed demon woman herself, is the newest addition to the standard 5-star family for some people, and that may be a little bit too much for some, but for others, she's actually perfect and able to fit in anywhere that she wants to. Now, this is a force of nature that is not to really be played with, especially when it does come down to Turbo herself, seeing that she is a physical supporter that's actually quite usable in multiple teams, but not only just for the attack that she has, but the influx of pin and other buffs that she provides. She makes use of this by not only just providing these various buffs, but having a ton of speed in her kit, furtherly allowing herself to only help everyone on her team and a little bit selfishly help herself. Though this isn't all that's really in her kit, and she really shows it off by being at the top of the team with her extra turn mechanic. Now, this is already a perfect addition, seeing that we did need some other extra turn units here, and as this is just a small rundown of her, we're going to be able to further elaborate on this by going into her kit. So let's check out the kit explanation. Start. Turbo once again excels with her high speed, which is very apparent in the rest of her kit. Each part of it usually holding some importance to the amount of speed that she has, which is going over at least 10 speed. It will always provide some additional type of buff. For example, her skill 2 for going over 10 speed is actually allowed to increase her allies attack by 2% up to a whopping 35%, alongside with some defense capabilities, which are also boosted with the speed overcapping mechanic. So it's quite simple to kind of see her in action, being that she's a speed demon herself, so you're really going to see her a lot, but it's furtherly expanded when she checks out with the extra turn ability of her. This extra turn ability pretty much allows her to use all 3 of her moves in her kit, which not only allows her to just of course get everything off that you need her to get off, but be a gigantic buffer for whoever is on the team, mainly helping out that DPS who's usually going to be at the back of the team. But since we've already talked about this, let's go ahead and look at her passive. So for her first passive, which is leading, it allows her to increase all her allies' damage dealt during an extra turn by 30%. So off bat, you can tell that she's not only helping herself, but her entire team by a milestone. As long as you have this extra turn, she'll be able to trigger this quite often. Now, this also heavily implies that others with an extra turn capability, being like Joker, will be able to also utilize this, so surely do keep this in mind. As for her second passive, being Supercharged, while Turbo is actually alive, she increases all allies' damage dealt to down enemies by 24%. And this also comes with an extra effect. So whenever you of course have them already down, Turbo will deal an additional 48% of attack as physical damage. And this is going to mainly be to the main target as long as they are down as well. So not only is she giving you guys an extra damage buff whenever you have down enemies by 24%, but she's giving herself an extra attack buff by 48% when there is a down enemy who she has as the main focus. So she herself will be the center of attention at all times, allowing you to really just help out anyone and everyone on your team, but she also helps out your DPS, being your DPS is going to be the main person in the 4th slot, getting a lot of those buffs at the end of the day. So you really want to make use of those extra turns because they're going to help you out a ton when it comes down to those bonus damage dealt. So with all the at least buffs that she already brings with her and the damage dealt that she has, she is gonna be a blast for a lot of you guys who actually own the character. But now we talked about at least her kit explanation, let's go ahead and check out her dupes. Now, as per usual, I don't always recommend dupes for these characters, of course, and especially since she is a standard character, you'll get their dupes especially in time, but you don't need them initially. But that doesn't mean they're bad, so let's go ahead and check them out. So for Turbo here, her A0, at the start of the battle, she will end up gaining 90 kilometers of speed here, and then after each ally's turn, she will increase her speed by 4 kilometers for each 10 speed. Now this is going to be over the 100 that you additionally have, so any 10 that is over this 100 cap here will increase your speed by 1 kilometer up to 6 kilometers. Now by doing this here, it does actually concede to the other part of her A0. At the start of Turbo's turn here, you can actually use something called a quantum transmission. Now this is pretty much where you have your extra turn feature. At 120 kilometers, she actually turns her speed into the extra turn energy. This allows her to gain 1 extra turn at the end of her actual round here, and this has a turn cooldown. You can't use it of course every 1 turn afterwards, but you do have to understand it does come at a price of utilizing the speed or the kilometers that you do have. Whenever Turbo reaches 100 kilometers or 220 kilometers and lastly 350 kilometers of total accumulated speed in battle, you actually unlock certain level gauges. So level 1 being rapid wheel here, you actually get 5%. Level 2 rapid wheel gives all allies 10%. And level 3 rapid wheel gives all allies 15%. And so as you can tell, from level 1 all the way to level 3, it gauges from 5% up to a whopping 15% of pin rate. So that's just the A0, and that already sounds amazing. Going on at least with the A1 here. As for this here, there's something a little bit additional. So at the end of each ally's turn, additionally you'll end up gaining 10 kilometers an hour of speed. You gain additional effects whenever you use different persona skills during this extra turn, so you definitely want to do this as well. But Vortex Strangle, whenever you do use this skill here, it increases Turbo's crit damage by 50%. And if you use Overload Acceleration, it increases shield amount by 30% additionally, while also increasing all allies defense by 30%. And then lastly, the Roaring Engine skill additionally increases the main target's pin rate by 10%. Pretty decent for an A1, I would say so myself. Let's go ahead and check out the A2. When using Rapid Wheel, it additionally gains the following effects of level 1, increasing all allies crit damage by 20%, level 2, increasing all allies damage bonus by 20%, and then level 3, increasing all allies attack by 20%. So you already get the crit damage being 20 at level 1, damage bonus 20% at level 2, and then a whopping 20% of attack at level 3, which is pretty darn interesting as well. Then we have at least the A4, which increases her highlights and increases all allies damage bonus by 10%, extending all the buffs from this highlight by one whole extra turn. So it's no longer being at least its normal amount, you actually have one additional turn to this. As for the A6, at the start of the battle, it increases starting speed to 120 kilometers an hour. During this extra turn, Turbo can then use Quantum Transmission to turn the 40 kilometers an hour speed into Boost Energy, which is way more than she originally had. Now, boosting, this effect will now give you at least 2 boost energy here. So there are some for the regular boost energy and then some for some high skill boost energy here. So for the high skill boost energy effect, you need 1 boost energy. This is going to be Vortex Strangle. While using this skill, you increase your turbo crit rate by 20%. If this downs an enemy, it increases all allies attack by 25% for 2 whole turns. As for Overlord Acceleration, it now increases your shield amounts by 20%, extends the shield a whole duration by 1 whole turn, and then also for Roaring Engine, the extra turn pin now targets not only just one person, but targets all allies. Alongside of this, of course, you do have 1 extra type skill boost effect as well, so this one is a little bit interesting. But the ultimate skill boost effect here actually now requires 2 boost energy. Vortex Strangle now increases all allies damage dealt to down enemies by 15% for 1 turn. Overlord Acceleration here decreases all allies damage taken by 20% for 1 turn, and Roaring Engine increases all allies damage bonus by 25% for 1 turn. This is a huge addition, so definitely if you have that A6, more freaking power to you. But let's go ahead and go into the skill priority. Get into the skill priority for this character, I would definitely suggest you guys to follow the skill priority shown on the screen. Firstly, you want to go ahead and use the skill 3, then follow up with the skill 1, going into the skill 2, and lastly the combat skills, aka the highlight improvement. The main reason that you want to do this is because for your buffs and as well as your just skill 1, you are going to want to use all 3 of your attacks, which is pretty easy to do, especially if you go ahead and have that extra turn effect that you will have as well in this character's kit. It's going to help you use all 3 of these attacks, which is definitely way more important than just using one move such as a highlight or just having a 1 more bonus here. So I would definitely advise you guys to go ahead and do it this way instead. It definitely will help you guys out, but of course I'm not the owner of your account, so if you decide to do your own thing, you can go ahead and do that as well. But let's go ahead and move on to the weapon option. Now when it pertains to weapon wise, I do have to say that this character needs her 5-star weapon. Now I would love to say you can of course use the 4-star weapon, which for my people on a budget, there is a part where you can do that, but there is a reason why you want this 5-star weapon. It's mainly just because this character does require speed and it is a huge portion of her kit. So if she does not have the minimum requirement of 178 speed, which is practically impossible to get with the 4-star weapon here, you're going to have a lot less for your buffs here and make them a lot less than normal. But of course, for my budget people out there, the 4-star being the leading trailblazer, it actually increases your attack percent by 12% at base, going to 24% at max, while also having an additional effect. After unlocking Rapid Wheel, it'll then increase Turbo's damage bonus by 18% at base and 34.2% at max, which does sound nice, but once again, you're missing that speed, which is needed for this unit. Now, as I did say, you need speed, and that 5-star weapon definitely does provide it. 5-star weapon being the Declaration of Victory, it increases speed by 15% to 30%, and for every 10 speed that's over this 100 speed, it'll then increase Turbo's attack by 12.5% up to at least 23.8% if you guys have it maxed out, and then up to 100% to 190% if you have the weapon maxed out when using a persona skill for every 40 kilometers an hour. This is all for accumulated speed, and it increases all allies damage bonus by 3.4% if you have the weapon maxed out, 6.4% up to 17% if you have the weapon maxed out, 32% for 2 whole turns. This weapon is truly what you need for the unit, and it really does make the unit an actual useful unit, while if you don't have the weapon, it kind of leaves her in the dirt. So you definitely want to get this weapon. I would highly advise it, though your own fault if you don't get it at the end of the day. So I'll leave that to you. Let's go ahead and get into the best gear set. Going down to the gear sets themselves here, and yes, I did say gear sets. You actually can run 2 different ones here. One of them being the best one I feel like is going to be Reconciliation and Creation set. The other being the secondary one, I would say for most people, being Affluence and Trust. Both sets are great choices, but they definitely have huge different uses here. Let's go ahead and break this down. Starting with the Reconciliation or Reconciliation, I keep saying it kind of wrong, it's weird. And Creation, this set here increases your speed by 6 and also has a 4-piece set increasing your HP, attack, defense percentages all by 15% in combat. Now, as many of you guys know, this helps you guys actually get that missing speed that you may very well need to hit tap, which is furtherly going to be 178, but when paired with at least the Creation Universe card, it also increases your damage dealt of the ally with lowest speed by 12%, meaning you're not only helping just turbo out herself and your team, but you're helping your DPS by a mile. Most likely getting free damage dealt buffs here, seeing that of course your DPS is usually going to be your slowest character. So already keeping this is definitely going to be the best, I would say, for turbo, but there is once again another option. That option is going to be the Affluence and Trust set. Now this reduces incoming damage by 8% for the 2-piece at least, and then while the 4-piece actually lets you recover 25% of your highlight charge when entering battle. Now, if you pair it with Trust, it also increases the damage of all party members by 8% for 2 whole rounds when allies do use skills, which granted, it does help out your team, but you are practically wasting it a little bit, seeing that if you're paired with someone who already charges highlight, you will then end up missing out on that. Also, you kind of miss out a little bit on the extra buffs for your DPS exclusively, in my opinion, though I mean, you can choose whatever you like when you do say that, so I won't really be too harsh on you guys for that, but I definitely would say use the first gear set. Now going over the main stats this time, they're both going to be the same for both sets. You definitely would like to run these sets here. Damage bonus or attack being for the moon piece, crit rate percentage being for the star piece, and lastly speed or the planet piece. If you go ahead and go use these main stats, they're going to get you in the right area that you want to go ahead and look at. Then after going over those, we're going to go ahead and go over the substats next. You definitely want to have speed, crit rate percentage, and crit damage, which will overall help out your entire build. You can get some pin rate there as well. It might help you out in the long run, so do surely keep that in mind. This just keeps making turbo as perfect as possible, so I would say try to get these stats as quick as possible to really get the most out of her potential. Now if we went over at least her gear sets, go ahead and go over the final part being the team comps. All right, so finally getting to the end of the video here, the best team for turbo would actually be this team shown on the screen. The man Joker himself actually finally gets some more screen time once again, though with turbo, do keep in mind she is a support unit, so eventually she can find other teams, though it is kind of difficult to do, especially seeing how she really helps out in the extra turn category, and I would like to say the only person who really benefits for that, especially with her actual passives here, is going to be Joker. Now as for some substitutes, you can support or at least substitute some of the supporters out here. So instead of using Windvast, you very well can use Cord helping you out with the highlight, which I will do that every now and again if I don't need Cord on a different team. And then instead of Futaba, you can use Ange, or instead of Ange being her best in slot, you can very well use Futaba, seeing that she does help out in that regard as well with the crit rate and crit damage potential. So I would suggest you guys to kind of experiment when it does come down to this team, but this is pretty much what she's going to be useful for. Now that's pretty much it when it does come down to this team and as well as the unit, and I do apologize for you guys this taking a little bit longer than normal. I've said this like twice in the last few ones here, but I do apologize for this one. This one I have to also say is definitely a little bit on my fault. I completed the Ange build guide before I actually completed this one, so it made me take a little bit longer than normal. But thank you guys for always watching. As always, I'll try to get the Ange build guide out as soon as possible, so look forward to that one. And as always, you guys stay safe and stay sharp. Have a nice day. Peace.